This conference will now be recorded.
Welcome to Live Talk with Dr. B. Hill. We have continued guests today, Dr. Doug Smith and Travis. If we have any visitors today, they are welcome to ask questions. Use the right-hand corner in the chat. So, Dr. B, take it away.
We'll sure do that. We were really having a good conversation yesterday and had to leave. Hopefully, we get back into that really quick today. Dr. Smith, you there? Travis, are you there? There you
Hey,
both
Dr.
are.
B.
All
Hey, Dr.
right.
B.
Travis, we hope your little one feels better.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. B.
Uh-huh. And Doug, I promise not to give you what I have.
That is one of the beauties of podcasting is we're all located far apart from each other. So B, I cannot catch whatever the illness is that you have, and I've been instructed not to say the word COVID, so I won't say COVID.
Yes, you're not allowed to say that word. Thank you very much.
So whatever the illness is, I'm and I wish you a speedy recovery.
Thank you very much. Well, I'm going to get off and let you two continue with yesterday because it was really a great show. And we had a lot of people comment on how wonderful the show was yesterday. So we want to continue. Thanks.
Well, B, Dr. B, I
Yeah.
gotta say the show really stayed with me yesterday in my mind, because the I can understand, I can empathize with the individual who was told that they were a drug addict, and then they take a DNA test and they find out that they're not a drug addict, and I can understand how that person would be happy that they're not a drug addict. But then next, I could understand how that person could be angry that, okay, now they have the realization that the pharmaceutical industry, the pharmaceutical companies, the opioid manufacturers, the opioid distributors did this to them without their permission or knowledge, and have what looks like permanently changed, damaged, poisoned their DNA. And
Yes.
my question for Travis had been, how do you deal with that anger over time? Does it just eat away at you? Does it just gnaw at you? And the answer that we got from Travis yesterday is that Travis was able to convert that very powerful but very negative energy into something positive, and that was Travis is I'm going to use this word. Travis, I apologize if it's the wrong word. This is what I was trying to get straight in my head throughout the day yesterday. It When you say you're when people say they're a victim, part of what they're saying, a victim. So when people are saying they're a survivor, it's often in the context of cancer, and they're almost celebrating the fact that they survived. They're
That's right.
happy that they survived. They're still there to take care of their family. And Travis, I was thinking about it yesterday. What did you mean by survival, and what could that possibly mean to a person? And I kept coming back in my head to what you're doing right now, who you are right now, the man that you are right now. And what that man is doing is taking care of his wife and kids. He's taking care of his responsibilities. He's doing what I think a man should be doing. And that's where I got to in my head yesterday afternoon, yesterday evening, was I understand they told you were an opioid addict. I understand you never did believe that. I understand that the DNA test helped you put things in context. Okay, I'm not an opioid addict. These drugs did poison my body, and what I went through is a result of poisoning, but I survived that, and I'm still here, and I'm still working, and I'm still married, and I'm still raising my kids, and I survived through all that to continue to do what I am on this earth to do, which is to take care of my family. Does that make sense?
Yeah, yes, Dr. Smith. All that is accurate. It's 100% how I feel. but the biggest thing that I feel is I really feel lucky to be alive. Like I feel lucky. Like I mean, I don't think anyone else that went through what anyone that has been through what I've went through or is going through it now, I'm sure they have a lot of people around them that have passed away due to overdoses, or maybe they've had cardiac arrest. I mean, without an autopsy, they probably wouldn't know that, but I'm sure it's happened. But anyone that's dealt with opioids has a long list of people that they know that are not here anymore. Um, so when I say I feel like a survivor, it's because I honestly 100% feel very lucky to be alive because, looking back in retrospect, there is a couple of days that come to mind and I'm like, I should have died that day. I don't know how I'm alive. I should have died because of the amount of opioids I took that day. And I'm just like, wow, I'm lucky to be here. But everything you said is 100% how I feel. But the biggest feeling I have is I feel lucky to be alive because opioids have destroyed and killed a lot of lives. And I mean, and I'm going to say that again, opioids have taken away a lot of people's lives. And I mean physically and literally. So what I mean by that is opioids have physically killed people, and they have also literally killed their lives, meaning taking their livelihoods, their families, their houses. They're living in the streets right now. So I feel very lucky to be sitting where I am as a person, as a human being, as a man, because most of the people that I know have not made it out of that, and they're not ever going to make it out of it. Most of them are either dead or they are so far gone. There's I just pray every day, for them. But so far what they've proven is, they're not ready to make a change. They're not ready to come out of that yet. The opioids have a hold on them. So I just feel very, very lucky, period, to be here, is what I mean
Travis,
by.
you told me too that what, a couple weeks, maybe 2 weeks ago, you lost somebody that you knew a long time ago
Oh, that was actually last week. It wasn't even two
last
weeks
week.
ago. That was last week when I texted you that. Yeah. So I was just sitting there and I got another text message from somebody I haven't spoke to in a long, long, long time. And this is a childhood friend. I actually grew up with him when I lived at my dad's house in Greensboro. And I mean, just another one gone to opioids. He also started off on pain medication. He tore an ACL or something to do with his knee and his leg. I can't remember, but he had a bunch of surgeries. He was laid up for a while. Um, they wrote him prescriptions to pain medicine, opioids, and before you know it, when all the surgeries were over with, and they stopped letting him get the medications, he's on heroin. So he was struggling with that for a few years. And what me and you were talking about the other day, Dr. Smith, how people will get clean and then go back and use and they'll overdose. It's exactly what happened to him. He was clean for like 2 months, his mother said. Um, Obviously, he had a bad day or a weak day or a weak moment, and he went and bought some heroin and he used it secretly, and they found him in his car. He was dead. So it's just another life that's lost, to opioids. And that's what I mean by, I feel lucky to be here. I feel like a survivor because I mean this is a big deal. This opioid thing, like, it's taken a lot of lives. It's ruining a lot of lives. And the pharmaceutical companies and anyone else who played a role in getting these out in the population, they have to pay. They have to answer for what they've done. I mean, this is not okay. I mean, this is like a never-ending cycle of death that's going to keep happening if they continue to manufacture and distribute these medicines to people at will, like they're doing. I mean, just It's still today, it's easy to get them. I mean, you can go and get pain medicine easily. Opioids, you can go and get them easily. The steps are not that hard. I mean, it's literally 1, 2, 3. The only difference is you have to go to a pain clinic nowadays. But I mean, all you have to do is take a drug test, fill out some paperwork, and then you're pretty much in there. And as long as you have some type of metal plate in your body, or a broken bone or anything, you can get them. And I don't think that's okay. I don't think that's right. I think it needs to be how it used to be. And unless you are dying, unless you have some rare, illness like multiple sclerosis, something you're living with, that you're actually in pain 24/7, or if you're dying of cancer, then okay, yes, that's okay to write someone a prescription for opioids. But as far as, oh, I broke my foot and now I need 220 whatever, a month, I don't think that should happen anymore. I think they should put a stop to it. The quicker they do that, the quicker that everyone's going to stop dying, and then getting their DNA, their blood poisoned and their DNA changed for life. I mean, that's another thing. And then you got to deal with the adrenaline. If their body's adrenaline is abnormal, which it probably will be after the methylation in the blood that we can prove that happens when you take opioids. So you got to worry about that too. It's just all around something that needs to be stopped. And that's what I mean by a survivor. Like it's a long answer, but it's all of those things in one. But I just feel lucky to be alive.
Chrissy, when you get a moment, if we could pull up catecholamine number one. Uh, I want to, and let's talk about this with Travis. Yeah, Travis. After the show yesterday, the show may have been over on the screen, but it wasn't over in my head. Um, and in fact, the process still continues. Your words were beyond powerful, and I'm so hopeful that as people join us and listen, they can get a better understanding. And let me say it again for the people who are listening to this show. Let me say it again, because I didn't have an insight in this until yesterday, and I could see where this could be very helpful for people. You were told you were an opioid addict. You were skeptical. Eventually, you took a DNA test. That DNA test told you that you were not an opioid addict. That in fact your DNA had been poisoned by the opioids. Uh, you did have to deal with some degree of anger about that, but that mentally you finally got yourself into a very good and positive situation, uh, 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 where you now view yourself as a survivor. And by viewing yourself as a survivor to some degree, that's a chapter of your life you have closed. Is that a fair statement, that you've gotten some degree of closure on that chapter?
Um, yeah, that's a valid statement. I mean, t- I don't think I'm gonna have closure until we we take these guys down. Um, that's when I think. I mean, I have some closure, meaning the closure in knowing what was going on with me, knowing why the opioids did what they did, you know, knowing what they've done to my body, to my DNA. Now I have closure in that aspect, but as far as like closure, I'm gonna need to take these guys all the way down. Like they need to pay for what they've done to me and to everybody else that's gone through this. All the family members that have gone through this. Everybody's affected by this. Not just the person using opioids. The entire family's affected by it. Friends, family, anybody that's close. You're affected by that person that's on opioids. It's Once I feel like we get reparation for everybody, and I feel like they've had to pay for what they've done. I feel like then I'll have some closure. I feel like then we've done something here, because that's going to be the biggest, hardest thing of all, is making sure that these big corporations pay for what they've done.
You realize that's going to take some time.
Yes, I do. I understand that.
And I think we're all hopeful. By the way, it sounds like somebody may have just found you.
No, they're right out they're arguing. Sorry about that.
They're still looking for you. Everybody,
Probably.
Travis, we've all raised kids, and doing a podcast at home when you have kids is always a bit of a challenge. And just so the viewer knows, on a regular basis, Travis tries to find new places in the house to almost hide to do the podcast before the kids find him, and it's
Yep.
becoming a massive game of hide and seek at the Travis home. So
I'm actually
anyway.
I'm gonna try the walk-in closet next week, because I set up like this little spot. You'll see next week.
And that's, those, when you have kids, that's and you're trying to do a podcast, 4 days a week. That's just kind of the landscape you live upon. Travis, I did want to go back to something that you said. I want to go back to a lot of things that you've said. And Travis, you're
Okay.
helping. Thank you, Travis. You're helping me understand better what people have gone through. But Travis, you mentioned a childhood friend of yours that died recently. Condolences on the loss of your friend. But Travis, I have a series of questions, and the first question I usually do, and the first question is, do you think this individual was on buprenorphine?
I hadn't seen him in a long time. I talked to him a few times on Facebook. He told me he was struggling with opioids. Predominantly, he told me he was struggling with heroin at the time, and he told me the story on how he got to the heroin, which was the tore ACL and the hurt knee and all that stuff I told you about earlier.
The typical pathway.
But I don't remember him telling me anything about buprenorphine. I just remember him telling me that he fought through it and got clean, and that he was a couple months clean. And then the next thing I know, I talked to him 1 month. I had actually spoke with him on Facebook Messenger. That's when he told me he was doing fine now. He had gotten clean, and I was like, all right, well, that's great. And then the next thing I know, his mother, is calling me on Facebook Messenger, and I'm like, oh, this ain't good. So I picked up the phone, and then she told me what happened, that they found him deceased in his vehicle in front of the house.
Do you think if he had been on buprenorphine that he might still be alive?
Oh, 100%. 100%.
On a proper dosage of buprenorphine.
Right. Well,
Right.
100%. Because it has the blocker in it, you can't use opioids. So yes, 100%. If he was on buprenorphine or Suboxone, definitely he would be alive. Definitely.
Travis, on the screen there are the blood results. Just so the viewer knows, Travis, you were one of the participants. You were a volunteer in our clinical trial. We do not unmask our people in clinical trials. So Travis, it's important that the viewer knows that you've come forward of your own volunteer to discuss the results of your blood work and your DNA test. And Travis, if I'm not mistaken, that's the results of your blood work are right there on the screen. Your number 700, and you had toxic levels of both epinephrine and dopamine. Just so the viewer knows, there are 3 adrenalines in the body. We in medicine call them the catecholamines. A layperson would call them adrenaline. The 3 adrenalines are norepinephrine, epinephrine, and dopamine. And Travis had elevated levels in 2 out of 3. When we as the researchers saw those blood levels, we called an emergency halt to our clinical trial and notified the IRB, because we felt those levels that you see on the screen right there were incompatible with life in some people. And I stand behind our actions, and I stand behind our statement. Those are dangerous levels. Now, Travis, this next question is convoluted. Okay, so let's take a moment and go through this. This next question is a convoluted question, and Dr. B is not going to forgive me for raising complex issues with only 10 minutes left in a program, but we can at least raise the issue. Now, Travis, again, condolences for what happened for your friend, but I want to use that as an example here. Travis, you knew this person, growing up. This was a normal person, right?
At one time he was very normal. Before the opioids ever. Oh yes, he was very normal. He was married. He had the the big white house with the white picket fence. He owned his own business. This is what I've been talking about, guys. Like, most of the people I know that their lives are a mess right now, or they're homeless, or they're even dead. These people, some of them have college degrees. Like, these people were on top of the world at one point. Business owners, they were married with kids. They owned beautiful homes. They owned luxury vehicles. Like, these weren't like, the run of the mill, drug addicts that you see on the street. This is not the kind of people that I'm telling you about here. These, at one point in time, these were very sophisticated, classy individuals that all of a sudden, broke a bone or got in a car wreck or had something else happen to them, and they're in the ER, they're at their doctor's office, and they've been written a prescription of pain pills, opioids, and within a couple of months, their life is just spiraling out of control. Within a year, they've lost everything. I mean, this is the kind of people I'm talking about. I just want to make sure the viewers know that. I'm not talking about just your normal everyday drug addicts that you would see out on the street. And some of those that you see now, they're the same people I'm talking about right now. They had college educations, they owned companies, they owned homes, they had families. And I mean, especially with opioids, we can prove it. This is what's happened to them. And it's just sad. It's very sad.
And this individual found himself on heroin. And as you say, if I'm quoting you correctly, you say first it's the pills, then it's the heroin, then it's the coffin. Is that not your saying?
Yes, Dr. Smith, that is correct. And
Okay.
unfortunately, they said that the heroin that he purchased that day, it had fentanyl in it. So that's what killed him. He was clean for so long, and he went to go try to use heroin. But once you put that fentanyl in there, and your body's been clean for a couple of months, you're not going to make it. You
All
don't
right, now
stand a chance.
Travis, I'm gonna make a jump here. I'm gonna make a jump here, and if you don't follow me, ask me to repeat it again. Okay, and I don't care if we got to talk about this into the next program.
Okay.
I want to have a moment where you and I have a conversation, and I want to make sure we make the jump and we both get to the other side. Okay.
Okay.
Okay, Travis, you see the numbers on the screen in front of you. You see your epinephrine level.
Yes.
If I'm not mistaken, your level was 153. Just so the viewer knows, upper end of normal is 62. Okay, so
Yes.
Travis, your epinephrine level was twice a toxic level.
Deadly.
Okay,
Deadly
yeah,
level. Yes.
deadly. This is a big time epinephrine level. Now, Travis, it is our theory that the epinephrine will sear a memory into your brain so that this never happens again. So that epinephrine will sear into your brain that you will do whatever you have to do so that this doesn't happen again. And the jump that I'm going to make is that I believe your friend, again, condolences for your loss, but I believe your friend had experienced at various times some similar epinephrine adrenaline levels. Is that a fair statement?
I could believe that. Yes.
Okay. And if your friend had experienced some toxic levels of adrenaline, some toxic levels of what we call the catecholamine, some toxic levels of epinephrine, that your friend's brain had been seared that he will take the actions, whatever actions necessary, to make sure that he does not experience toxic epinephrine again. Are you with me?
Yeah, I'm with you.
Okay. So what we're saying is part of the function of epinephrine is to make sure that whatever caused the surge in epinephrine doesn't happen again. If the bear bit you, you take steps to make sure that the bear doesn't bite you again. Okay, if you're caught out in a storm and in lightning and you get a surge of epinephrine, you take precautions that you're not caught out in storm. These are survival mechanisms. Epinephrine drives a survival instinct. That is not going to happen to me again. And unfortunately, what I think happened for your friend, and has happened to so many people, is that the thing that rescued them from epinephrine toxicity was heroin. And that heroin is now seared in their brain, and they're scared to let go of that heroin. Does that make sense?
I mean, yeah, that it makes sense. I've never thought of it like that, but it actually does make sense. So I mean that could be a very valid, thing that has happened. I mean, um, yeah, I mean,
And
I would
in
say
that
it could happen.
regard, we only got 2 minutes left here, and so I'll make this statement, and then we'll pick up on this next program. But
Okay.
Travis, in that regard, then the epinephrine has become one of the barriers to proper treatment. It's hard to get them to let go of the heroin and grab onto the buprenorphine because the heroin has rescued them from the epinephrine so many times.
That makes sense. I mean, that makes sense the way you're explaining it right there. I mean, yeah, that could be a possibility. I mean, we'd probably need to, research to actually be able to prove that. But yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I mean,
Travis, you've talked to people about letting go of the opioids and getting on buprenorphine, and you've run into a brick wall.
yes.
I think
I've
that brick
talked to
wall.
probably 200 people, and I've literally gotten two out of 200 to actually take the medicine and come to the side with me and be, what they would call clean and sober or whatever you would want to call it. But yeah, I've talked to a lot of people, and I've had two that I could actually bring over here with me and get on buprenorphine or Suboxone and not take opioids anymore.
I think it's
Because
the epinephrine that's telling them, no, you don't know about buprenorphine. No, buprenorphine has never rescued you from epinephrine toxicity. No, stay with the heroin. The heroin has rescued you many times from epinephrine toxicity.
I mean, that would make a lot of sense. That could definitely be a valid, thing that's going on. 100%. I wouldn't say it couldn't be, you know what I mean? Because it's again, it's common sense. You know what I mean?
We'll pick up on this tomorrow or
Okay.
Monday.
Okay.
Monday.
Yep.
Today, Monday.
Well, thank you so much for joining us, guys, and our viewers as well. Welcome to Live Talk with Dr. B every Monday through Thursday, 12:30 to 1. See you Monday.